Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining our third community workshop. It's the second of two that we're doing this week, but it's the third in the series. And we had an identical workshop yesterday evening. Just so everyone knows, my name is Craig Schlatter. I'm the Community Development Director here at the City of Ukiah. Joined tonight by our General Plan Specialist, Mintier Harnish, and that's going to be Rick Rust and Brent Gibbons. And I also want to make sure I recognize we have ambassadors that are joining us tonight from around the community. We have two ambassadors that are going to be assisting with facilitating the workshops from the Housing Action Team. Katie and Jessica, could you just raise your hands? All right, thank you. We have Councilmember Mulhern, which I think everyone knows. Another person everyone knows is Mayor Juan Orozco. And then we have Shannon Riley, Deputy City Manager for the city. And we have Mireya Turner, which you can't see her, but you can see her name. And wanted to thank all of our ambassadors for participating. They're volunteering their time just to help us out with conducting this workshop. So thank you very much. One of our primary goals for this workshop is to seek your input. And one thing I can't stress enough is for your active participation in the workshop tonight. We are trying to get the input from a representative view of the entire community. And so the end result is developing a plan that's going to set the course for the next 20 years for the City of Ukiah. And from that standpoint, we'd like to arrive at a plan that is both implementable, accessible, and also realistic. So any efforts you can do to help us with that effort, we really appreciate. And again, just please, please, please participate, share your input, share your ideas. We need to hear them. And if you have any comments for us after the workshop, just on how we could have done better, please feel free to directly email me directly at cschlatter@cityofukiah.com. It's also on our website. Or you can email our planning division, which is planning@cityofukiah.com. And I will now disappear into the background and enjoy the workshop.
All right, well, I'm going to guide you through a bit of the workshop tonight. This is Rick Rust, and what we're going to start with is a PowerPoint presentation, so we won't take too much of your time with that. After we finish this PowerPoint presentation, there's going to be two activities to do. One is that we're going to break you up into smaller groups, and the facilitators that Craig introduced a little earlier will guide you through responding to 5 prompts that we've provided to them. So it's a chance to have some small group discussions, and the facilitators will make notes of your comments and concerns, and we will use those as part of the creation of the alternatives. We also have an online mapping exercise, which we'll show you how to use a little later, that you'll be able to use after the workshop at any time up through the 22nd of the month, to provide additional information that's very site specific. So those are the two ways that we're going to get some input from the community. And the mapping exercise can be done by anybody in the community. You don't have to be on this workshop tonight to listen in. You could tell your friends and neighbors to join us on that mapping exercise as they would fit it into their schedule. So tonight we're going to provide the presentation, giving a little bit of a general plan overview, talk about the community outreach that's been done, the existing conditions and trends workbook that's available for your review, and the general plan visioning process, which is kind of wrapping up in the near term here. And then we're going to talk about the alternatives process, and that's really what the workshop's about and what these breakout sessions and the online mapping are all about. And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about what is an alternative and how are we going about getting this done and getting your input incorporated. As part of our workshop tonight, we're also going to be asking a few polls as we go through this. And I want to take that chance now to get one of those. So you should see on your screen the first question: have you ever participated in a virtual webinar? And using whatever device you can enter into your computer, mouse, number of buttons, finger if you have a touch screen, however it might work. Just so you can plan, there are, I think, 10 of these questions, so you won't have to do too many of these, but this gives us just a little bit of idea who's in our room tonight. So we've got 23 out of 27 of you voting. 24. Probably have a few that don't go, so we'll do a last call. Now on the screen, you should see the results. So yes, you love these virtual webinars is the #1 polling, and thank you for that. Hopefully we don't change your mind about that by the end of the evening, but we can certainly hope it's worked for you here tonight. All right, now we're going to go back to the presentation. Sorry we bounced back and forth here a little bit, but now I want to give you a little bit about a general plan overview. As we look at this, what is a general plan? So because it's been about a little over a year since we've had public engagement, we are going to give a little bit of background on the general plan project, just so everybody's on the same place for where we're going to. The general plan is something that's required by state law for every city, town, and county in California. And it's designed to guide long-term decisions about the community. It's really seen as being the blueprint for the future. That is, it lays out where the city wants to go as far as a wide range of topics. These topics are usually organized by what's called an element. So you might have an element that deals with transportation, and it deals with all types of transportation: bikeways, pedestrian, cars, buses, even things like Uber and Lyft would be incorporated into there. Land use elements, economic development components, talking about our natural resources. These are all things that are covered in different elements within the general plan. These are the top focus items for the city. Actually, there are several of these items that I mentioned before. The one item in here that wasn't mentioned was the objective standards. That is, making the plan where it has more definitive direction on what's being requested by the city as part of future development. For instance, for housing, what type of housing and what should it be designed to look like to fit into the community. Now, the general plan, as its name states, is general in nature. It's not as specific as a zoning code. Doesn't tell you how many feet your side yard needs to be, but it does provide a broad guidance on where the city wants to go on these topics. It's comprehensive. As I mentioned, it covers a wide range of topics, everything from the natural environment to the man-made environment and how we deal with those different components. And then it's long-term, 20 to 25 years. Or Ukiah, we're looking out to 2040, which is a little less than the 20 years by the time we get finished. But we typically try to end on a decade, as there's a lot of other data that's available at the decade range that we can compare to. And then we also want to make sure that the general plan connects and helps to implement the city's strategic plan goals. So planning for the future provides sound principles for valley-wide planning. Enhancing our neighborhoods to make sure we take care of the locations where everybody lives, works, and plays currently. That we have a good foundation for economic development and can grow our businesses long-term. Then we also want to make sure that we develop quality infrastructure. That is, the systems that help support our daily life. Everything from the water that we depend upon to the parks and recreation systems that we enjoy. Now, in the overall general plan process, we've gone through the first 2 phases and are in phase 3 right now, which is alternative choices. From this area, we actually move on towards preparing the plan. We'll be visiting with the Planning Commission and the City Council after we go through this alternatives process to get their inputs on the alternatives that are being developed, both for land use and for broad policy directions. And then we'll prepare the general plan. It goes through an environmental review process so that the decision makers and the public are aware of what are the implications of the choices that we make in our general plan, and then on to adoption, which should be later in 2021. All right, so we're going to bring up our polling questions again. So this question is about, do you live or work in Ukiah? If you're retired, you can count that as the work question. Got a few more people join us while we've been in progress here. So we now have 28 that are with us. Okay. So we've got, this is similar to last night. Last night, I think we had 75% of the group lived in Ukiah. Today we're at 67. And we do have a stronger piece in that third category there where I lived elsewhere but work in Ukiah. Of course, our communities need to meet all sorts of needs. Our residents are foremost, but we're also involved in providing a great place to work and to recreate as well. So we want to make sure our general plan addresses all those pieces. One more question. As I said, we have 9 of these tonight. So if you marked that you live in Ukiah, for the 67% of you that marked that number, how long have you lived in the community? Okay, last couple for this. For those of you that just joined us, there'll be 9 polling questions that will be scattered throughout the presentation. Just use whatever input device you have on your computer or phone and mark the polling question as we go. So 44% of those on the phone have been here over 20 years. So this is a little longer leaning group than we had last night. Last night we had a few people that were in the 0 to 3 years even, so some new residents to the community. So we are bouncing around and providing a look at a wide range of people who have a wide range of experiences here, both for a long time period, as well as a few people that have been here only 3 to 5 years. So they provide a fresh look on the community and how it's meeting their needs. Okay, so we're going to give you a little update about the community workshop. At any point, if you don't see what I am talking about or you can't quite hear me, just let me know. I want to make sure you're seeing the PowerPoint. This is our second community workshop officially. We did have a briefing to the Planning Commission and the City Council as a joint workshop to kick the project off. But our first community workshop that was held in the community as a whole was on September 24th of last year. And we had about 75 people attend that workshop. We also had a booth at Pumpkin Fest in 2019. So back when everybody was out and about in the world, we were able to stop a whole lot of families as they came by the booth and provided us input on their issues and ideas that relate to the community. We've also had a newsletter that highlights what this general plan is about and how we're going about it. A range of online engagement, which has included some online survey work, as well as hopefully some e-blast notices like some of you should have gotten tonight or about tonight. This is our main website. So this is a great source of information for everything you want to know about what's going on with the general plan. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, you go to ukiah2040.com and that will bring up this page. On top of this document, you'll see the Participate tab talks about how you can be part of the project and what are upcoming events. General Plan Basics here talks about what are the basic components of a general plan and what's about. The Documents tab is a way to download any of the documents that we've prepared so far. So things I talk about tonight that have been out there, you'll find them on the Documents page. The Resources tab gives you some information about other planning resources that might be helpful to you in understanding what we're all going about. And then the Facts, or Frequently Asked Questions, is down at the end, which provides some answers to some things that we hear back from the public. On the right side of the page, if you were to click this email list, that would add you to the email list. Those of you that got an announcement about this meeting are already on that list, but if you didn't automatically get a message, click on that link after the meeting and type in your email address, and we'll make sure you get a notice about every upcoming meeting and when documents are released. The Comments tab, you also can type in your email address, and you have 1,000 characters worth of comments. So if there's a quick thought you have, something you didn't think to mention tonight and you'd like to put in, feel free to do that. We had a number of people from last night who already took advantage of that, so we appreciate your inputs as they go forward. Question number 4. So just to help us get a sense of who's here and how much you might know about the past, how many of you attended workshop number 1? Okay, last call for these. All right, it was fun watching the counts come in. We were neck and neck up through the end there, but the yes votes took it at the end by 1 vote. So this is great. I mean, it's good to have the people that dedicated an evening to us back for workshop number 1. Thank you very much. And for those that are new, we appreciate you being here, and hopefully next time you'll bring some friends along and we'll end up with twice this many. So as we keep going, we want to keep getting more information out to the community and more information out to your friends and family. I mentioned some of the community input we've had already, and the information that we received has been documented in the documents available at the website. So if you can go into that Documents tab on the Ukiah2040.com website, you'll be able to download a copy of the Community Outreach Summary, which talks about Workshop 1, Pumpkin Fest, and any online engagement that's been conducted so far. So this is a great way to catch up on what other people have said so far as part of our effort to develop the general plan. Another document that's in that Documents tab is the Existing Conditions and Trends Workbook. This provides a snapshot in time about those conditions and trends that are influencing our future. This document will also support the development of the environmental setting for the environmental impact report we do eventually. And the final report was published in June of 2020. And again, it is available on the website. This document, when we do existing conditions reports, especially for the environmental documents, they can be several hundred pages worth of detail where you can miss the main points because it's so much information. So what we've done with this workbook is made it more graphically friendly, more to the point about key factors that we think are important for people to understand, and easier for people to understand both our history as well as key concerns that influence our future. So we'd appreciate it. Go have a look at that, and it might be some interesting reading. It's a graphical magazine, if you will, so it's a little more interesting to read than the 300-page background reports you typically get with a general plan. Relative to the general plan vision statement, now this is what's currently being wrapped up. The vision statement provides what is our ideal future aspirations. What are we trying to achieve if we were to boil it down to describe our future that we're looking at 20 years in the future? A lot of the input that came from this came from workshop number 1, where we had individuals come up to our fill in the blank board and add in their descriptions of how they would describe Ukiah. Now, we had some pre-made words for them to choose from, which were both in English and Spanish for people to participate. And then individuals were also given blank ones if they wanted to create their own word. As I mentioned last night, public art was one of the favorites for the write-in votes. And those were all taken into account. This is the current statement that is being considered. And if I could bug Craig again, is this scheduled for the council?
I think it will likely be scheduled in the January meeting of the council, but we're still finalizing that.
Okay. So this is another document that you can get information on the visioning on the website. This is the current statement that's being proposed based on that public input. And of course, the council will review this and make some modifications, I'm sure, or make some suggestions to that. But you can all see it's Ukiah will be a welcoming and diverse city that values and promotes community safety, education, and overall community health. The city will continue to maintain and enhance its local parks and support community events that are inclusive. Ukiah will be a sustainable community focusing on resiliency and protection of our natural environment. This brought in a lot of the key comments that we received during our workshop. And of course, if you have any comments on the vision statement, you're welcome to provide those into the planning department, and they can forward those on to the council for their consideration. Okay, the alternatives process. I want to look at the alternatives process, and what we're trying to do is explore potential land use changes. When it comes down to it, that's part of the alternatives process. Another part of the alternatives process is looking at major policy choices. And tonight, we'll ask you some questions that will elicit some feedback on some issues that need to be addressed in the community. So it's more than just land use that we'll look at as far as alternatives, but of course land use as far as what goes where is an important part of looking at our future. Now, planning for the future can be looking at areas where we might expand. It might be areas that we focus on doing infill development, that is within the current city limits. These are all things that need to be considered and evaluated for how they fit together. After we prepare an alternatives report piece, this will also be out for public review and comment, and then it'll go for the Planning Commission and City Council to review. And what we'll be looking for early next year is guidance on what would be the preferred alternative, because we will base the general plan development off of that preferred alternative. So keep tuned to what's going on here, and then everything you do tonight is really targeted towards helping us refine this look at alternatives. All right, another polling question. Again, I said we have 9 of these coming up, and we're on number 5. What housing does Ukiah need the most? We have 28 of the, currently 33 people online, so we got 29 of you here. All right, last call for input. Slightly over 50% of you voted for all of the above. There is a need for housing of all types as we go forward looking in the future. Affordable single-family homes to purchase, and housing affordable to retail service industry workers were the next down in 2 and 3 positions. Now, as we go through tonight, and as I mentioned, there's an online mapping exercise which will allow you to be more specific about areas that you're concerned about or you think are opportunities. But for an online survey and for asking a few questions, I want you to kind of picture where you live or where you work in the community based on these quadrants. So A is in the northeast of Ukiah, B is in the southeast, C is in the southwest. Remember D for downtown, and then E for the northwest Ukiah. The division points are State Street, running north-south here, and Perkins. Those are the major divisions between the big quadrant areas. In the downtown area, you can probably picture in general where that's located. So here's a close-up picture of area A. As you look at these, kind of picture where you live, and if you don't live in the community, where it is that you work or own property. So this is the area down, major shopping areas down in this area. Area C on the southwest side. There's area D, the downtown, kind of a bubble shape right now as far as the areas of concern. And finally, area E in the northwest corner. So we'd like to find out from you now is using those letters, which area do you live in? And if you don't live in town, again, you can mark where you work or your own property or where you have other concerns. Okay, we almost got most of you in here. Wait a couple more seconds. Again, our dividers are Perkins Street here and State Street going north-south. Okay, stop with that. I can tell you that last night it was area E that was the winner for having the most representatives in our meeting by a bit, and tonight we've got a dead even heat with area C. So the west side is representing, and I'm glad to see area C has a bigger number tonight than they did the previous night. We've got some good representation out of areas A and B and the downtown areas, so I'm glad to have a good representation geographically for the community. Looks like it's going to have me run through the rest of the questions here for you. So number 7, where should we plan for new housing in the future in general? Vacant land in the city, infill, vacant land adjacent to the city, small infill, downtown or mixed use locations, or all the above? This is one of 3 final questions, and then we'll be into the next section and then almost off to your workshop. Questions about where housing should go will be one of the questions you'll talk about in your breakout groups. So if you've got other items to add to this, you'll have a chance to give some details on that later. All right, last call on this one. We have a majority with all of the above. So looking at a balanced look at where we can provide a good choice for the future. Again, our online mapping exercise will be a great place for you to provide some specifics for us on where you think is appropriate. Number 8, does the city need more commercial or industrial space? And about 70% of you have voted, so if the last few of you can enter in, that would be appreciated. We'll get to your last question. All right, just had one more enter in there. Oh, one more snuck in. We had a dead heat between the yes, we need more and no, we don't need more. And the yes, we need more snuck ahead by one vote right at the last second. Interesting mix. Our folks last night commented on the fact that we asked, do we need more of this or more of that, but we didn't have a no response in there. So we modified the question to give you some no's. And it looks like there's quite a difference in the thoughts on what should happen. Some of this may be location, and you can provide us some better guidance on what that is. Or maybe it's just certain types of things you're not wanting to have. And again, when we have the breakouts, you can provide a little bit more detail on your thoughts on that. Then our last question, if we did have new commercial and industrial, which part of the town should it head towards? Or where is there a need? Or the biggest need, I guess, because you only can pick one. Okay, almost done. Last few seconds here, take a shot. Okay, here we go. So there were comments about outside the city limits. I can tell you last night there was some discussion outside of the A area to the east of that along Highway 101 was one area some people thought could be expanded to. But again, this will be something you can talk to them about in the breakouts. And area A, the northeast in general, was the highest vote getter beyond the outside area. All right, so let's wrap this up here, get you on to your workshop. I want to talk to you about the online mapping exercise after this meeting, and you can find this on the website too if you want to click a button there. And again, your friends and neighbors can do this mapping exercise. You can go back in multiple times if something else strikes you. There's not limits on it, but we're just looking for some input from you. This is an image from a phone, so if you want to do it on your Android or iPhone device, you can. Just go to ukiah2040.com/map. You will have to create an account, so you will have to sign in. On a phone, the menu is this 3-stacked little hamburger thing. And when you get there, you're going to need to sign up now. Once you've signed up, you can just log in by using your email address and the password you provided. The other thing it'll ask you is for kind of a username, and that'll be the name that your comments get assigned to or what other people see if you don't want your email address shown. On the phone, you're going to click on the legend, and then when you want to put an icon, you'll click one of these pluses. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like on a computer real quick. Okay, so this is our website on a computer. So if we were to go to a legend, you'll see the different items that we can attach to our location. You'll see there's no plus there because I haven't signed in. So again, you have to create an account on the computer, or you need to sign in before it lets you do anything. And now you'll see that there are plus symbols over here, which means I can add an icon. So if I wanted to say where there's a good location for housing, I click the plus, and then I go over here, put a marker down. It allows me to put in a description, a title. I can add photos. I can cancel it if I don't want to do that. The other thing is the plus and minus over here, so you can zoom in. So if you're trying to find a specific street or neighborhood, you can zoom in real close. You can change your base map. So if you want to see an aerial photograph instead of a street map, you could do that by clicking on the base map choices. And you can also see what your family has said on here. So if we look at, this is actually everything that's been put in so far to date. So if you click on one of these symbols that's already there, comment was improve emergency evacuation routes for this area. So again, by this tool, we're able to put very specific ideas about specific locations. Here's somebody that thinks there's an opportunity for a possible park idea. Here's somebody where more industrial buildings here. If our icons don't quite match exactly what you want to tell us, find something that's close and then write your comment in towards it. It'll automatically save it once you tell it you're done with that. And again, this hopefully will get really crowded, but as you zoom in using the plus or minus, you can see a better picture of what's going on. For anybody's comment, you can also give it the thumbs up or thumbs down if you'd like to say you agree or disagree with their comment. So you don't necessarily have to make your own little circle. You can just like somebody else's circle. So this is a great tool. Again, you'll need to just sign in to use it, but we think it'll provide us a great time to understand exactly what you're thinking and where you'd like to see things go within the community. So give that a shot. That is open through the 22nd of the month. So friends, family, everybody else can go on there and provide us their input. Okay, so now we're going to stop this, go back to our main group. And tonight, last night we didn't have great success with breakout rooms, but tonight we're going to do it. So we've got a number of facilitators that are lined up for us. They'll identify themselves inside the groups. I have to hand distribute you into the little groups, so I'll kind of go down the list. What will happen is you will give me a couple minutes. You will show up into a room that looks just like this, but with fewer people in it. And you'll have a facilitator there. They will ask you some questions. Feel free to have a conversation, and we'll give to about 8 o'clock and then bring everybody back into the main room. So we'll take about a 3-4 minute break while I set everybody up. So if you need to go grab a beverage, this is a good chance to take a bathroom break or whatever you might have. When you come back, you'll be in your little room. So give us just a moment.
Do you guys want me to cue up the Jeopardy theme song for you
If you
while
could.
we're waiting?
Or just sing us a song, Mo.
I'm sure you would appreciate the internet singing a song instead of me.
I do feel like there should be some kind of entertainment here in this intermission. We're missing out on a huge opportunity right here.
I think so.
Or some shameless self-promotion from someone. Anyone?
We ain't got a good business deal they'd like to offer.
Todd, what's for sale?
The Palace. Can we
All
put that on there?
right. Thank you for saying that.
Okay. Well, if you are a staff member or a facilitator otherwise, we're going to put you into your rooms with a whole bunch of other friends and family here. Go through your 5 questions and we'll go from there. All right, hang on everybody, here you go. Those of you still in the main room, you should have been given an assignment. You need to click the acceptance of that.
work that we're doing to improve community health. So really wanting to partner with the city. And then Adventist Health in July acquired Blue Zones. And I know that's a conversation that we had, gosh, when was that? 2016, 17? That
housing, all those things. I think keeping a sort of flexible artist mind would be really wonderful. So I'm here to be the voice for that.
Excellent. Nice to have you. Well said. Okay, how about Todd?
Hi, my name is Todd Schapmeyer. I'm one of the owners of W Real Estate and 101 Property Management.
So I just, I know that LAFCO's job is to maintain farmland, so I just wonder how practical it is, and also about annexation for some of the areas that are outside of the city limits, how possible that is. Because I would have to, seeing development, I would also like to see that in and next to the city.
Yeah, I think that time will tell on that one. Did anybody else want to comment on that question, or do you want me to move to the next question?
Mo, I'll say something. I mean, I feel like I'm having a hard time commenting on it. I agree with the Brush Street area, but we're talking about a 20-year plan, and this planning started before we're seeing a lot of the housing projects right now that are starting to come to completion. So a little bit for me, I notice I'm trying to figure out, well, now that we have 901 new housing units about to come up, what are we going to need in 20 years? Not right now. And so I find myself just kind of spinning in terms of a larger picture of the general plan, because we don't know how our current housing stock is about to be used. So it's a hard question. It feels like a hard question right now. Like in a year, I think it'll be a different question.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, given the, if the courthouse moves, what's going to happen to that building? Because that could certainly be many residential units with commercial underneath. And what's going on with the Palace Hotel, because that could be also multi-use, which can provide, I don't know the square footage, but probably 100 more, residential units downtown.
I also
more mixed use.
Yeah, mixed use things.
I also understand we need to be careful about where we can get sewer connections from certainly multi-use houses, and where the water is available. So I don't know what the status is for those two services north and south of the city.
Well, I don't know about water, but certainly maybe there's a way to do swales like they've done at Grace Hudson.
Space that, to my knowledge, is really largely unused. I realize there's parking issues downtown, but it seems like that second floor could be, downtown apartment / condo kind of multi work live spaces more than just a business downstairs. And
type of stores available to people that cannot drive or don't have a vehicle. Yeah, okay. So are there any more suggestions, any more comments on that first question, which is if the city expands in the future, which part of the community and those of the 5 areas can best support housing and why? We haven't heard from, go ahead, Susan.
Well, I don't want to hog the
site that's across the
Masonite.
Masonite.
Yeah. So the Millview
water
County,
will be coming from
yeah.
there.
Well, the Millview County Water District is the area that special district that
to Stanley Street tends to be a funny, super speedy run. And honestly, I think it's often, I have had the unfortunate event of
I mean, there are, I mean, we have we live in a long area that we have some RV parked with people.
Food deserts. We have 33 community gardens in Ukiah, and every single one of them has a wait list. There's more than 50 people waiting for a community garden. So some of these plots of land that are being designated as underutilized or vacant, you know, when people are talking about housing, they want to build housing on those properties. And I think it's important to think about food producing green spaces integrated with affordable housing as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
I would say that if this is like the last general plan, which is an area plan, and I noted on your map you had the big SOI square. I believe that's what that was, and the city limits square, or is serious grocery shopping on the south end. At the very, you know, you get past, you could go to the grocery store over there by Walmart, but you get past that on State Street down toward the county area, and there just isn't that. There's a very small market, a neighborhood market at Oak Knoll. Is it Oak Knoll? I think so. Yeah. And but there is no grocery store per se that a family could really do shopping at. Okay. I know that there's a development that was approved a few years ago through the supervisors all the way down by the little industrial park on South State that was supposed to have a grocery store in it. That is coming back to life, and I don't think it contains anything but residential. So definitely, I would call that a desert in regard to reasonably cost groceries. And I don't know how many gardens you got down there south of Talmadge. Do you have any?
Yeah, there's the Las Peras Community Garden is south of Talmadge.
Great.
There's a couple at the apartment complexes down there as well, owned by Dan Obergen.
Okay, great. That's good.
But so, always room for more.
And there's lack of park.
Discussing that we didn't feel like we gave enough time to.
I'll just say real quick on the sustainability part. I think it's really important that sustainability is a kind of a community-wide thing and something that we look at a global perspective. I've seen a lot of situations where there's some unreasonable sustainability requirements put on a developer or a tenant or someone that wants to occupy a space, and then they just don't do it because they're bearing an unfair burden. So I think it's really important that sustainability is not necessarily a property by property issue. I think it's more of a global approach when it comes to a general plan. And if we put too many restrictions on a case by case basis, then we're gonna have nothing happen. And which, you know, we need to balance. I think there needs to be a balance between what we can do as a community and a city and a county and individual business owners or a developer of a project.
That's a good point, Todd. I think, you know, sometimes it's baby steps, and if we try to take too large of a step, it like you said, it deters the actual, you know, what we're intending to do. I think that the city of Ukiah is in a very unique position that they have an outreach capability through social media, etc., to really bring some of these ideas out into the general public, whether it be conservation of water or, you know,
or it's too pricey. You have to pay attention to that. It's, you know, it's nice to want certain kinds of things, but you have to be, are you meeting the needs of everybody?
And Mo, one thing I would say about sustainability as well is that we need to involve more people, and akin to, you know, what's the community work programs? How can the city have more interactions for community to get involved, to help take care of, and therefore through work find pride in our city? And maybe that is some of the transitional housing programs get built in with doing community work service. You know, like there's got to be more, I don't know, bigger picture of human involvement in all of that as well. Does that make any sense?
I will definitely agree with that. You
And
know,
I
taking stuff away
keep
for
wanting
free.
to say to
putting that out there for the balance.
John, your audio kind of broke up a little bit at the beginning, and I want to make sure we captured that. Were you saying that there are potential negative consequences of requiring some of these environmental stuff because it's more expensive?
Sure, that's what I hear from developers, that they just can't afford to develop anymore, and so they'll go somewhere else.
Got it. Yeah, that's an important perspective that we haven't necessarily covered tonight. Thank you for sharing that.
About a 2-minute warning here for your group.
All right, Rick. Anything else you want to cover? Any burning questions in your mind? This group was amazing.
The Mendocino Voice. So I'm just following this meeting to check out what the city's planning for the next 20 years and what all you guys think.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. But yeah,
Okay,
I'm not from
Rick,
Ukiah.
unmute yourself.
Oh, you got about 1 minute.
I'd just like to tell Martha that the city of Ukiah is actually working on power storage right now as we speak. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Rick.
1 minute warning.
Oh, we got an extra minute.
You do. I didn't know if you saw my message, so here's your warning. See you in a minute.
Okay. Well, Sarah, do you have any other?
All right, welcome back. About half the tables are still at it, and 1 or 2 people that didn't quite figure out how to get back out.
Do we get bonus points if we finished on time, Rick? My group was amazing.
Shannon, Ours was, you know, even better. Not that I was in yours, but I just.
I don't know, Trey. Well, we all got here on time. Here we are. Everyone's here. Yay.
That's Rick. He whisked us back.
All right. Well, we're all back, and I'm glad to say that our breakout rooms worked tonight. So hopefully that you all enjoyed yourself over there and had a chance to talk about some of the issues that are in front of us. Did want to say, make sure you and yourself and family, friends, and neighbors all go to the mapping exercise, ukiah2040.com/map, M-A-P. And that will be open through November 22nd. So anytime you'd like, you can go in there and create an account and add your markers. You can leave and come back and they'll still be there, and you can add more to it as you'd like. So we'd love to know what specific areas in town you'd like us to address a little further. And again, if the icons don't quite match what you'd like to tell us, put an icon there and type in a comment, just kind of get close. From our different groups, you could give us a 60-second highlight maybe. Maria, we're in breakout group 1.
Thank you. Yes, I was the one taking notes at a mad rate. There was a lot of really good discussion from our group regarding areas. Let's see. There's a lot of conversation about focus on Brush Street Triangle as a likely area for expansion in the future. Additionally, there was a little bit of discussion about infrastructure to support development, how to bring that in. Both infill is important, as well as hesitation about infill for a number of different reasons. And a little bit about how Ukiah could be in a position to differentiate itself with homes on larger lots. No areas grossly underutilized or lacking of services. However, once they did start talking about it a little more, they did notice some towards the south end of Zone C could be lacking development, and as well as could use more parks, grocery stores. A little talk about Gardens Gate, and let's see, enhancing our neighborhoods. Really good stuff about art, and maybe finding a place somewhere on the rail trail where there can be markets and vendors and food trucks and things like that, and art to sort of become a community center.
Okay.
And a lot of the traffic around schools. And okay, I'm done. Thanks.
Give me your 90 seconds.
Yeah, I'm good.
Group 2, we had either Mo or Katie.
Katie, do you want to summarize, or do you want me to summarize?
Yeah, I guess it's me. I won't repeat some of the things that she just said. Rush Street and across from the health club were the ideal places to add housing. When it came to talking about what was missing or what's needed, there was quite a lot of discussion about evacuation routes and the fact that there are not enough through streets in Ukiah, either north and south or east and west. And so when there is some sort of an emergency, there's going to be a problem. We needed more small groceries and parks. To enhance neighborhoods, there was a really good comment about creating public commons, that older neighborhoods have places that people meet. And these things don't have to be really big. It doesn't have to be a real park, but it's places where there might be a bench or something, some way to stop and talk to your neighbor about whatever's going on. There are major traffic issues. Goby and Perkins won the prize. And the Highland Hill across to Stanley apparently is a super speeder area. What do you do about it? The ideas went from speed bumps to one seemed like the best idea that you don't do it twice is to go over one of those sort of culvert areas like the drainage ditches on Church or on Clay. When you cross them, you slow down. And so that would be, we could improve some of those drainage ditches and kids would have to slow down. And then for sustainability, one of the most important things was the idea that there's a lot of individual things that can be done by individuals, but as a community, and this should show up in the general plan, that we need to look at the basic systems, the waste collection systems, the energy systems, and those need to be looked at for the future. We're just doing the same old stuff we've always done. And so that needs to be improved, and that we should plant food. We should plant fruit trees. Why can't you plant fruit trees on street trees and all over the place? And we'd have food, and we could always find somebody who'd want to come and claim it. So, and community gardens. So those are ideas that we know about, but I very much like the idea of looking at the basic systems, because this is the perfect time to look at them.
Okay, thank you. Breakout room 3, Craig or Shannon or Jackie, I guess, was another facilitator, any of the 3?
I'm pleased to say that Craig was our note taker.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of go over a few points here. I'll try not to duplicate what others have said. I think general consensus around infill, mixed use, having walkable communities, wondering if there's a way to, related to mixed use, if we could incentivize businesses that have 2-story buildings to maybe make one of those stories for housing. Let's see, potentially more housing in the area around the high school, and then South Ukiah as well. For services, public transportation, especially in area C and B to the east. Discussion about healthy food options, walkable locations in all areas. Again, near the high school, need more parks. And also well-lit neighborhoods while also having the down-shielded lights. For enhancing our neighborhoods, we had the usual type of topics in walkability, fresh air, public spaces that are smoke-free, parks, health and everything, trees, discussion about homelessness, and can the city and the county work together on the situation. We had a person that was newer to the community and saw a need for doing something related to the vacant lots around the city. Let's see. Other than that, on the west side, one comment was really like the living over there in the west side market. So potentially putting more small markets in other sections of residential areas. The general consensus on traffic was that we really don't have major traffic issues, but if we're going to cite a few, it would be in Low Gap, Bush Street, Empire, Gobi to the freeway, and Perkins. And then on sustainability, general consensus building up, increasing density, new development to potentially have an amount of solar or sustainability requirements, and then a contrasting comment that potentially increasing environmental regulations can mean decreased economic activity, and this can also impact development and have long-term economic results.
Great. Let's see, in breakout room 4, I think Juana Roscoe, your designated person.
Yes, we had Susan take notes. Thank you, Susan. Do you want to
Sure.
go over those?
Okay, well, we had great ideas in our group, but also we overlap with a lot of what other people mentioned. So I'll not repeat that. We talked about new housing development primarily on the south end of town, just, to disperse housing amongst different neighborhoods, and to not have so much concentrated low-income housing in the same areas, so as not to quote unquote warehouse low-income people, to have more mixed income levels of houses and apartments. More commercial land to be developed within city and outside city limits, more opportunities for commercial development. somebody mentioned living, to avoid people living in food deserts. So people who don't have cars, who can't drive to supermarkets, are doing most of their grocery shopping at 7-Eleven type stores where they can't get access to fresh produce. Hopefully this comes up a lot in a lot of our meetings for city planning, of more mixed use, particularly downtown, to have residential dwellings above commercial units. And wondering why hasn't that worked? Mari brought up that's been brought up to the city council years ago, and it still hasn't happened. And why do developers not feel particularly welcome to Ukiah to create a balance, friendlier to developers, but also to protect sustainability and environmental protections? We did talk about the Wagon Cellar neighborhood, perhaps because I live there. We still don't have a park after 25 years of asking for one. The Orr Street Bridge is a mess and a magnet for some of the worst behavior we can imagine in Ukiah. And more parks in the Wagon Cellar, but particularly also on the south end of town. There's Riverside Park, but as someone put it, it seems to be unregulated. People are living there, and it doesn't seem to be a very welcome place. There was kudos for the Boys and Girls Club on the south end, who has created a lot of recreational opportunities on the south end. And some concern about building bridges, that it might be located in the wrong place where there's a lot of traffic and people putting themselves in dangerous situations. Oh, I haven't separated these into categories, but I guess it's pretty clear. So along with traffic issues, we all want better bicycle paths, and particularly wider lanes that would give the bicyclists more space from vehicles. Somebody also, well, this is sort of an encompassing issue of the fact that the city has hired a PR agency, and perhaps we can all advertise what we like about the city in letters to the editor or online forums, talk about what's good about the city of Ukiah. Regarding sustainability, this seems to be such an enormous topic. We could have a 2-hour session just on sustainability. We talked about the need for the city needing to have a climate action plan, and that the threat of climate change or in any development should be measured against the threat of climate change, and to try to achieve carbon neutrality in the near future, as the state model, I think, is 2045. We talked about the need for a tree ordinance, sequestering carbon, mini parks, as the state requirements are to have more solar, wind power, or to buy into power generation and storage. Garbage and waste stream more controlled, so we don't have people just putting everything into their trash cans. And an inventory to draw down greenhouse gases. This is a very big list. I'll try.
Well, we're just looking for we're kind of looking for a 60-second key features piece instead of the whole bullet list. So if you could highlight the key findings.
Yeah, well, but when it comes to sustainability, everything is important. I'm almost done here.
Okay.
To a city regulation limiting idling vehicles, particularly at school dismissal times. More EV stations, more trees to reduce dependence on air conditioning. And we know the city is working on the backup power storage. It's expensive, so we need grants. And kudos to the streetscape project. We all like it.
Good. All right, and last but not least, for table 5 or group 5, it's I guess Brent, you're gonna volunteer to give that one, right?
Sure. And great minds must think alike, because group 5 loved everything that everyone else said. So I'm going to skip a majority of it and try to run through a few other topics. So bear with me real quick. So first and foremost, no need to expand the footprint of the city. Everything should be focused inward and upward. So where possible, increase density and increase height, and learn about the limitations near the airport and where height can be increased without impeding on that. Currently, the group felt that there was plenty of commercial, and that the downtown should be the primary focus for commercial because currently it's suffering. There was an interesting thought about improving existing commercial centers through aesthetic enhancements and conversions to include housing. So building second floors on existing centers, and in particular, the Pear Tree Shopping Center. Traffic issues, Perkins and Orchard was the #1 intersection the group was concerned about. Areas in town, Area B has the most potential for housing growth, specifically multifamily housing. And Area C has the most anticipated growth if there was future annexation into the community. And Section A seems most ripe for industrial and mixed use development. There was very big emphasis on healthy communities as part of our group. So the 33 community gardens, there was a look to expand that and allow for more inner city agriculture to grow local food products to sell. We touched on food deserts, mainly in the south end of town. And that also touched on areas that may be disadvantaged and that we should have equitable services to all, specifically in areas off of Leslie, North Main, and Laws Avenue, where there is a lack of green space and overall connectivity. And traffic safety was big, so separated bike paths. And when it comes down to sustainability efforts, we want to focus on traffic near the schools and the idling of vehicles. So there should be a limitation on that. Electric vehicle infrastructure was big too, because as we know, the state is moving toward all electric vehicle production within 15 years. And lastly, trees, and trees. So that was another big topic.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for being part of tonight's event. We'd love to hear, if you can go to the website in the comments, we'd love to hear what you thought about tonight's event. It looks like we're going to be in a virtual world probably for half of next year. And as we have additional community outreach, we'd like to see what you think about the breakout groups, the Zoom meeting, and the online mapping exercise. The online mapping exercise we're hoping to make bigger use of as we go forward, because it's a very flexible tool to get input about specific locations. On your screen there, again, go to ukiah2040.com/map and you'll create an account. And if you have any questions, again, you can put those forward on the website and we'll get back to you with how to do that if you need any help. And then for all of our wonderful note takers today, if you could send us your typed notes, your handwritten notes, the picture of the whiteboard you took it on the refrigerator on, whatever you might have, send those to Craig. That's his email address on the slide there. And we'd appreciate anything you can give us about what your tables talked about this evening. And again, we thank you very much for making time for us tonight. And a few of you were here Monday night too, so thank you again. And can turn it over to Craig. Any wrapped up comments from the city?
Very, very brief comments tonight. I really just want to remind everyone that one of our primary purposes with this general plan update is active participation by the public. And from that standpoint, these workshops are not the only opportunity you have to comment on any aspect of the general plan or the future of the city of Ukiah. We have on Ukiah2040.com on the right-hand side, I know probably most of you have already signed up, where you can sign up to the email list, but you can also make a comment, and that comment comes to us. We're collecting all of those comments. So you can do it through the website, or you can email me directly. You can email me, Rhea Turner, who was one of the facilitators today. She's our planning manager. Or you can also email us at planning@cityofukiah.com. Please do not be shy. We are collecting all of those comments and they will be considered as we move this eventually through the public adoption process. So thank you very much for your participation this evening and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Watch on the website. somewhere before the holiday, we'll have a summary of the event, and we'll put a copy of the videos as well. So if you want to have a neighbor watch, they'll be free to enjoy that. And this is an example of the box. You can send us comments in here. Anybody you know that would like to be added to our email list, they can click on the orange box. With that, we thank you very much for being part of our evening and being part of Ukiah's future. Good night.